Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast. It is Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 24th. In this episode, we review all the first round games. Everyone has played one. We see where we are. We go deep into the big upsets and games we've talked about. But first, Mike, the Revolution, the War of 1812, England 2010 World Cup, the Rob Green game, the 1-1, 1950. It's England, USA. You have the floor, my patriotic friend.
Gentlemen, ladies, I awaken you for war. No, I'm excited. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I had a thing, and I sent it to some friends, and it was very patriotic. It sounded like Mel Gibson in The Patriot, not anywhere else. Don't worry. I will be watching The Patriot after we finish this tonight. I am psyched. I'm excited. This is what World Cups are for.
Yes. Jingoistic, maddening representations of war and political intrigue in the most safe and ridiculous way to do it. If you can't do it this way, how else can you do it?
No, exactly. So I think there's a lot that of intrigue going into this match, right? Like, obviously the headline is Harry Kane's health. Is he going to go? Is he going to play 90 minutes? Lucky for everyone listening, I happen to know exactly what's going to happen. He's going to play till his fucking knee falls off, right? So
yeah, that's what he does. He plays.
He doesn't not play, right? So
yeah.
The only thing you could argue, I'm trying to get there we go. I'm trying to get it straight on. The only thing you could argue is it's a short tournament, and Southgate could look at this and go, listen, even if we lose tomorrow, we're going to use you at 100% against Wales. I do not think that will happen.
That's a bad idea. You got to get this win because Wales is a bigger blood feud.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think he'll start. I think he'll go 60 minutes, and depending on the game, he'll go more or less. But again, the thing about England, and we saw it in the game against Iran, is that, Jack Grealish and Phil Foden and Marcus Rashford.
5 subs makes this World Cup.
And Marcus Rashford scored in that game.
5 subs makes these bigger teams. If it makes the bigger teams in our league better, 5 subs in the World Cup makes teams with depth way better, right? Like, you think about a smaller country like Belgium, they can't go 5 deep off the bench. You think of someone like Serbia playing Brazil today. Brazil goes off the bench. It's like Martinelli comes off the bench. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's not fair. And then you think of like a team like Uruguay who needed something off the bench, and they had nothing. Right?
Yeah,
they've got to roll out the corpse of Luis Suarez. So the bench matters a lot. This depth thing matters a lot. There's a lot of different new things that I think is changing results. I'll take the U.S. side of this. Let's sort of step back for a second. The U.S. should have no shot in this game. They should be completely annihilated. England are finalists of the Euros and semi-finalists of the World Cup. Those are their last 2 tournaments. They just beat Iran 6-1, 6-2. And along with Spain are the 2 best-looking big teams coming out of their results. And they do have similar qualities in that both Spain and England finished their chances and made them look a lot better than they were. Like, Spain took chances that were just like, what? You can't score that goal. And then Costa Rica were terrible, and Iran were not terrible, to be fair to Iran.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And I think that last point is important to underline. I don't know that I'm going to put a ton of stock in one game the same way I'm not putting a ton of stock into the sky is falling form they had before the World Cup in the last few months.
Fair enough.
So I think
because the U.S.'s was bad before the World Cup too.
Yeah. I think we know who England is, as you said. I think that they are one of the preeminent favorites of this tournament. I think that, they are fully expected to take care of business tomorrow against the United States. But at the same time, I don't know what lies beneath Harry Maguire's thick skull, right? So is there a chance? And by the way, I do not think that the only chance the United States has in this game is a Rob Green-esque error from Pickford or from Maguire or from a penalty from Kyle
But the thing is,
Walker.
this U.S. team cannot defend the way those previous teams did. It's not in the team. It's not how they play. They're
No,
not a two banks of four. They're not a 5-3-2, or they're not a deep lying defensive spring team. He wants to have the ball. And by the way, England are set up to actually not are set up to not be the team that has the ball. They don't want it either. So if the U.S. think they're going to have the ball and make mistakes, and England's going to go on the break, they'll get smashed. Because
right.
they're not good enough to play that way.
Well, no, of course, but I mean, at the same time, yeah. I mean, you saw Kane. We talked about it in the last episode, dropping deep the same way he does for Spurs.
Yeah,
And
but
Sterling,
the
Sterling
runners he has,
became-
it's not just it's variety, right? When you
yeah,
play against Spurs, you just have to mark Sonny.
yep,
When you play against England, who do you mark?
yeah.
Right. Now, I do have some things. I think there are some key questions about the US team that we have to ask and figure out what's going to happen is how's McKennie doing? Can he go the whole game because they're going to need him? The second one is Aronson going to play from the start? Are they going to try and do something different? Is Berhalter going to take that result of the first half and say, "Oh, we were fine. Let's just play that same group again"? And
So,
then
okay.
where does Gio Reyna fit in? There's a little
Yes.
bit of controversy. I wouldn't call it controversy. Hey, Gio, you're made of glass. Your coach maybe didn't want you to get hurt because you get hurt all the time. And you were going against a Wales team that was literally kicking lumps out of anything that got near
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
I think,
take it easy.
the only lineup change I would make is I would put Weah up front. And I would put Sargent, I would take Sargent out and put Aronson on the wing, right? Everybody
Yeah.
else, I don't think anybody has any reason to be taken off to start the game. I think that is your best 11. I love Gio Reyna. I want to see him play a part.
I think he's a change guy.
Yes. I don't see him being, hey, let's be fair. He's 19 years old. Okay. Let's not put him in a position to be
lose.
outclassed for 60 to 70 minutes here.
Yeah.
Right.
Let
Well,
him have a moment to shine. Let him come
Yes.
in. We're down a goal. We're up a goal going for 2. We bring on, let's never see Jordan Morris again. And instead,
Fucking
let
no,
that
dude.
sub be be Reyna. Right.
Completely agree with that. I think, yeah. And regardless of scoreline, I think if you start Gio Reyna, you put a tremendous amount of pressure on his shoulders, regardless of where you put him on the pitch.
And he may not be able to affect the game.
Well, but so I don't see a lot of great outcomes in starting him, especially who are you going to take off? Are you going to take off Weah? You're not taking off Pulisic, right? Yunus Musa, maybe, I guess, if you want to try and put Reyna in a 10. So you have to sort of already bend what you're trying to do to fit him in, or take somebody out who has performed well for you. So I don't see that being a really viable solution.
The other question might be is, do you bring someone in to sit with Tyler Adams and really be defensive? That's the question I have. Is does Musa get replaced by who's the other defense? There's a defensive midfielder. Acosta, right? Do you play the both of them together and try and sit deep? Because Ream and Zimmerman were fantastic. I have to say it. That was
penalty aside, they were good. They were very good.
Yeah. And then how do you work from there? And then, we know Jedi's great on one side, but I don't love Dest. He's not a defensive fullback. Do you want to change that? Because basically the team starts to shift the other way around. I don't know. Yeah. But the US is all gravy. The bigger thing, I have one more point and you can go.
Oh, yeah.
Can the US play two halves that are good? That is the key. They have not been able to. They play bad one half, play good the second half. They play good a first half. They play terrible the second half. Are they ready in any way to do a consistent performance? I think you and I both agree. If they played the way they played in the first half, both games, they would have won. I mean, the first game. Had they replicated the first half, they would have won. Had they kept attacking, had they kept pushing, they would have beat Wales, or at least had 2 goals and hung on to a lead rather than trying to hang on to a 1-goal lead where they're getting battered in the
I
midfield.
think that's unfair to Wales. I agree with you for the most part, but I do think that you have to give. Hey, Wales went and punched them in the face, right? I think I don't know that their first plan was to sit back. I think the famous line, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, right? And so Wales came right at them and sort of caught them on the back foot.
The
and
key for more is the punch.
Exactly, right. And
Here's
so,
key for more.
yeah. And so, I mean, Daniel James, I don't know how many touches he had, but if it was more than 10, I'd be shocked, right?
Yeah,
and so
I think it was
that
like
was
15.
a significant change in the shape, right?
Yeah.
And so even if Berhalter came out of the room saying, keep doing what you're doing, keep pressing, and he was saying that on the sideline, the change Wales made wasn't something that they could communicate appropriately for.
And then maybe, like I just said, that 5 sub thing, maybe the right time is to make those 5 subs in the right moment, really change a game. It might be Reina and Aronson. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe Aronson doesn't start at all the time, but at least do it almost basketball style where no matter what time of the game there is, one of our great players is on the pitch and fresh, right?
Yeah,
sort of like the way you do checking lines in hockey, where you kind of, instead of trying to have all the best players at the same time, because we're limited and the guys don't play together that often, maybe there'll never be a time where McKinney, Aronson, Reina, and Pulisic aren't at least at their best, and maybe there's some sort of different mentality of coaching. I don't know. That's a way to think about it.
It is.
Yeah, and then the other thing for England is I think like Jude Bellingham makes a difference. It's a completely different team now to what we saw in some of those tournaments where Bellingham was not there. He's just better than Phillips. He has a better engine than Phillips. I like Declan Rice can do his job without thinking about trying to be creative. He can just make the tackle, track the runner. If he gets the ball, gives it to Bellingham, and he's gone. And that transition from attack to defense was huge. Maguire, as much as he got shit, he did set up basically both the goals. He was he was the hockey assist to the first goal, and the headed goal to Saka was from him. He did step up. Maybe you could the penalty. I don't know.
He's the chink in the armor, right? I think we can agree with that.
Again,
right?
it's that. But does the U.S. have the force? It's both personality, it's skill. Like, is Josh Sargent the guy to make John Stones and Maguire scared? No, because they'll just push him. They'll be like, "You think you're big? We're bigger than you."
Yeah.
And we've dealt with people like you. You're from Norwich. Fuck off.
I don't think we're going to. If looking at the lineup,
there's no intimidation for the defense.
There's not a single physically imposing player that England looks at the U.S. team and goes, okay. I think there's a lot of respect for McKinney and Adams. I think Pulisic and Weah are Premier League level attacking wings. They see those players literally twice a week, right? So they're not going to scare them.
No.
That doesn't mean that you
can't get lucky. That
doesn't even mean you can't beat them. But I'm not saying. But they're not going to strike fear into the hearts of anyone.
Yeah. The U.S. does not have Kiefer Moore isn't walking through that door to play for these.
Well, and right. But I do think that the way that the U.S. played, specifically in that first half, was it was a bit shit Barcelona, where it was just trying. It was
really good,
right? No, and that's a compliment, right? Like so, moving the ball and moving as units, right? Like so, and the goal was just such class from Pulisic. The pass,
it was good.
So I do think when you are able to move the ball like that, you can start to pick apart England and pull those strings a little bit, get a runner in behind and cause problems. But yeah, to your point, we're going to have to figure out a way to defend the counter. And I don't know that a double pivot makes sense there because no, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but what I'm thinking, like you touched on this. If the issue is the giddy up that England has, Sterling going this way, and who started on the right? Oh, Saka. If Dest is creeping up, to your point, then that's going to create a lot of space behind. Who do we talk about all the fucking time? One of the best players in the Premier League, Trent Alexander-Arnold, just leaving an ocean behind him for anybody to run into, right? And so, not to say that the United States of America is Liverpool here, but they have similar symptoms of that weakness. So I don't know. Do I like Des getting forward? Yeah, I do, but that creates an issue for us.
But here's the question: is a draw a good result for the US?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Let's go for a draw.
I would kill for that.
Well,
hold on. Yeah. 12 years ago, USA wins 1-1, right? Like, let's be very clear about this. Okay, a 1-1 draw against Wales where you were up a goal and you were sitting back and trying at like hell to not give up that equalizer. Ooh, that felt like a loss. A 1-1 draw against England, even if the exact same game script comes to pass, that is a win. It's a win. I'm sorry, right?
Huge, yeah.
And so if you remember that game from 2010, we'll go down memory lane for a quick second. I believe it was Steven Gerrard, maybe Frank Lampard, I think, who scored the first goal early, 5th, 6th minute. And it was one of those where it's like, hey, this is going to get ugly fast, right? And so pinball bumps around outside England's box. Clint Dempsey basically closes his eyes and swings his leg at it, and it goes through Robert Green, and it's 1-1. And to what I said earlier, England flinched, right?
It was Gerrard at 4. But listen to the lineup. Listen to the lineup that England had. This England team is way better than this one. So it's Heskey, Rooney, Gerrard, Heskey and Rooney up top in a 4-4-2. Milner on the wing with Gerrard and Lampard as the defenders.
Milner can still be on this team.
Aaron Lennon on the other side. And then in the defense was good. Terry, Ledley King, Cole, and then Glenn Johnson on the other side. So it's that Gerrard. I mean, Aaron Lennon should never.
No, don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Whereas, for the U.S., it's Altidore, Finley, Clark, Bradley, Dempsey, Donovan. I mean, we were good.
Yeah, we were trouble. We were trouble. But when you list those names, I see a lot in this team, right? And so, I think one of the other important factors here is that 5 a.m. Eastern is going to be Wales, Iran. So we're going to wake up and we're going to go into this game, all things expected, to be in third place in this group, unless there's a draw in that game, realistically, right? And so even with if there's not a draw in that match, then even with a draw against England going into the final match day, we're in third, but we're weirdly in the driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that a draw does, and we're ignoring England here for a second because they've already got 3 points in the bag. It hurts England. Well, it hurts England bad. What it does is it makes England care for their lives about that third game against Wales. And that's arguably as important as a result in this game, because what that will do is, England will be shooting to kill, not just to wound Wales. So they'll basically be going out and they'll want to put up 6 again. And they'll make sure that there's no doubt with the points in the after 3 games. So, there's a lot. It's so weird that there's only 3 games. There's so many variables you can come through.
Yeah. And it has a sense of complete randomness and then complete sort of like inevitability. So so since we did the pod on Tuesday, we've had a lot of games, and I want to make sure that we go through all the results, and then we'll touch on some important games that we have to talk about. But let's get through the scores. So I'm going to go back as time. Here was Tuesday at 4 a.m. that I didn't wake up for. The shock wake-up call to Saudi Arabia 2, Argentina 1. Yeah. That was bad. That went poorly. Denmark, Tunisia 0-0. Mexico and Poland play to about as even a 0-0 as you can find. And then France take care of Australia. The less talked about one, the better, 4-1, with Giroud scoring 2. Then Morocco, Croatia 0-0. That's not the big one. The big one is Germany 1, Japan 2, followed up by Spain and destroying Costa Rica 7-0, with Belgium backing into a win against Canada I've ever seen. Then we go on to today's game. So that was yesterday. Now we're on to today. This is great. 4 games a day. Switzerland defeats Cameroon in a cool little moment where a Cameroonian immigrant who plays for the Swiss team scores a goal, doesn't celebrate. Always funny. Uruguay, South Korea, a snoozer, but lots of our friends playing in that one. Brazil defeats Serbia 2-0. Richarlison with crazy goals. Brazil very poor. Serbia just didn't have the legs. And then Portugal 3, Ghana 2 in a couple of the U.S. men's national team's friends going at it, where Portugal hangs on, almost blows it. Ronaldo scores, becomes, of course, the man of the match because I think they're obliged to show Ronaldo more than anything. But Portugal were not good in that game. But that's where we are. We've gone through a full round of games. All the groups are where they are. Some teams have one win. Some teams have no wins. But I think let's go. Mike, where do you want to go? Belgium, Canada, Argentina, Germany. Where do you want to start?
Let's go with Group H first because
Okay.
I'll touch on this real quickly and then we'll get to the main event. I'm really disappointed in Uruguay, South Korea. We talked about Uruguay. We both have them going really, really far in our predictions. I love the makeup of that attacking side, and of course on the other side, my best friend and yours, Sonny. Sonny was. I wouldn't say Sonny was disappointing, but South Korea. That's a good result for them. Let's be clear. It just was a snoozer of a game. There weren't many shots taken.
No shots on goal.
Yeah. And then Portugal Ghana was probably the best game, one of the best games of the round so far. I'm sad that I can't wait till Ronaldo retires. I've had so much enough of him already. The whole United saga, him coming back last year, like, dude, you know who never does this shit? Lionel Messi. Like, it's just,
he does it. He does it quietly. He does it quietly.
Yeah, he did it. It wasn't his choice, by the way. It wasn't his choice.
Yeah.
Barca was like, we can't afford you. Goodbye. But yeah, it's just so public. Everything is just so dramatic. And he gets all the plaudits for shit he doesn't deserve, which is, I think, the thing that bothers me the most. Portugal's a tremendously good team, and Bruno Fernandes was silly today. Why is Ronaldo being talked about?
Because he scored a penalty.
I know. I know the answer to that question, but it's a rhetorical question that everybody should be saying to themselves. Hey, by the way, Rafael Leao is one of my favorite players in Europe. He's an unbelievable player for AC Milan. I love watching him. I am terrified that he's going to go to Chelsea next year. But I mean, back and forth affair. Good on Ghana for sticking in there. And that late goal, you don't know.
It was all in the second half. Like the first goal is scored at 65, and it just goes bananas, and they just go to war. And so once they realize someone might win the game opens up and things get really loose. I do want to give credit to Ronaldo. Ronaldo has scored a goal in five consecutive World Cups. That just is a testament to his longevity. I want to make sure that, as much as Ronaldo's annoying and he's poor now, it's not to denigrate what he's meant and what he has been as a player.
No. And that's why
what made him great is what's making him such a pain in the ass on the way out.
It organically is, but that's why I started with, hey, I'm sad. Not like, fuck this guy, I'm done with him. Like, man, like, you're the best there ever was, or at least certainly in the conversation. So, like, why are we doing this? What it reminds me of, like, Jordan on the Wizards. Like, why are we doing this part, man? Just go. Yeah. Go be the statue outside the United Center. Just stop this shit, Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird, but we'll see what it means. Maybe I don't think Portugal are a favorite. I think one of the things, if we go into some of the upsets, let's go to Argentina versus Saudi Arabia. They get a goal early from Messi on a penalty. They're playing okay, but Saudi Arabia have Renard, who's taken some smaller African teams. He's a European coach who's taken some small African teams to win, like Zambia and weird things. He's done this before, but he had Saudi Arabia well drilled. They played a high line. Argentina did score goals, but they were all fractionally offside and VARs everywhere. And it seemed that once they sort of Saudi Arabia scored two good goals really quickly within 5 minutes, Argentina just didn't quite understand how to break down a high line. Didn't know when to time their runs and who to make the passes from. And Messi and Lautaro and all those guys, they're great all-time players. They're not pacey that they can exploit a high line, but they weren't even trying. No one could seem to see the passes. It was weird to see Argentina kind of panic and, Emi Martinez not being superhuman. Maybe he could have got one of the goals. Maybe he dove a little late. But this is the World Cup. They lost. They have to accept it. They have to try and find a way to get out of it because they're favorites. And if they lose another game, they're gone.
They're gone. I think it's going to be interesting. They play Mexico next. You've got to think that you've got to think that they can take on Mexico. And honestly, Poland showed me absolutely fucking nothing. Tremendous disappointment. I thought they should have battered Mexico. It's sort of interesting.
It's frustrating. These teams that don't want the ball. I know that, historically defense first wins in these types of tournaments, but you just don't get any love from them. I mean, to be fair, Lewandowski missed a penalty. That was it.
He missed a penalty. Okay. So, but I'm going to get him off the hook for that. I'm going to put that aside for a second because I have a lot of problems with Lewandowski. He is, if you ask 10 people who the best striker in Europe is, he would be the answer for 8 of those 10, I would suggest. Maybe roughly, right? And as a bona fide Harry Kane fan, except for tomorrow, I wouldn't even argue that. However, when you give him fuck all to work with, he shrinks. He goes,
well, it's hard.
Now, okay, I'm sure it is. But for the best striker in Europe, you would think that he would be able to adapt his game and find ways to affect the match.
There were moments where he dropped. There were moments where he dropped, did a flick here and there, and tried to get in the box. The issue is his teammates are just not good enough.
This Poland team is not shit. Like, I was actually sort of impressed with the lineup they put together. I love Zielinski. Zalewski is very, very good. Like they have attacking talent, right? Like, I'm not saying that, Krzysztof Piatek of Salernitana, they have attacking talent. It's not like he's completely by himself. Milik is another one from Juventus, I believe. So they're not barren, right? It's not like, everybody on Spurs has gone down around Harry Kane and is being asked to do it himself. But when he did, he was able to completely change the way he played the game so that he could remain relevant and remain elite. And Lewandowski, I saw it in Kane's earlier part of the career. He had to adapt because he was sitting pouting on that island up top. Well, Lewandowski kind of was like that. And because he played at Bayern and now at Barcelona, he's surrounded by an overflow of attacking talent that always floods him the ball and draws attention away from himself, frankly. Well, when the onus is on you, buddy, why do you shrink? I have a lot of questions about that.
It happens. I think fundamentally one of the things that's difficult for finishing strikers, finisher types, is it's very hard for them to affect a game the way a midfielder can really change a team.
Yeah,
if you think about Zidane getting on the ball, he can go from deep to the middle, or the way Gerrard carried Liverpool for 10 years, basically. Now, the strikers would come and go, but that middle pulling the strings player is the player you need if you want these types of tournaments to them. That's really what I think.
Right, but
he's not a great passer.
No, he's not. I mean, but so I guess
he's not a creator.
I guess the question would be who. And by the way, let me amend that answer to that question, because 8 out of 10 would have said Lewandowski last year. I think the Haaland is the answer this year. But again, Haaland is just completely surrounded by superstar talent. I'm not going to knock on Haaland, but I just don't understand if you don't have the ability to do that. You're right. He's not a great passer. Kane wasn't a great passer in 2016. He became a great passer, right? So he's never had to, and Poland is the one who has to end up paying that bill, not Barcelona.
And then I think with Mexico, they're just not there. They can't score goals. They don't have anyone up front. They're still hardworking. They're still industrious. They're still Mexico. Like, they still have a fire and a passion. Their fans took over Qatar, so respect to the Mexican fans, the Mexican people who went to the game. So they will have that. It looks like they'll have numbers whenever they play.
Can I ask a dumb question? Does the Puto chant annoy Qatar officials, or are they like because everybody here in this conversation supposedly has some kind of let's just say a bias against folks who are, I don't know how to, the LGBTQ community, right?
Yeah.
So
I think I don't think Qatar has a
could it be like could the Puto chant sort of be like the armband moment for Mexico? Like, ironically, I know it's not what they mean, but like That would be a good way for them to try and get their asses
Are
out
they
of hot
doing it?
water.
I didn't quite
They're
notice.
doing it. They're 100% doing it.
They have been?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the less talked about the armband stuff, the better. Listen, here you want to talk about, so we'll go into Germany losing to Japan. They cover their mouths because they can't deal with their armband in the team photo. Eden Hazard really said something that was interesting. Less support. He's like, I'm here to play football. You lost. You can do whatever the fuck you want, but you better win the fucking game.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to say about it.
That's not controversial at all, right? If Eden Hazard took the podium, by the way, I fucking hate Eden Hazard. Okay, so I just want to get that out there first. If he came out there and started ranting against people of whatever ethnicity or sexuality or anything, that would be completely out of bounds, and hopefully he would be suspended immediately. He just said, "Hey, go do whatever the fuck you want, but you better perform in between the lines." I'm sorry, isn't that why everybody is here? Isn't that why everybody is showing up? They're not showing up for a big show of support, okay?
Yeah,
We're pretending that they are, but they're here to play football matches and they're here to win.
This is a really bad analogy, and I'm sure it's going to make people very, very angry, but I like to do it because I think it's great. It's like, basically, the whole thing we're trying to impose on the Qataris. Now, they shouldn't do what they do. That's fine. They simply have the World Cup. We're in their house, okay? And we're trying to say, no, I'm keeping my shoes on, even though it's a house where you take your shoes off. And we're like, everyone should wear shoes in a house. And you're wrong to make me take my shoes off. Motherfucker, you're in their house. Don't go to their house if you don't like to take your shoes off.
Don't go to the house. Don't go to the house.
I think you push it up to FIFA. It's FIFA's fault. It should not be in Qatar. Right?
100%.
And it shouldn't be in Qatar or any of these countries. If you really want to support that, they should never get it ever.
On paper, and by the way, this is fundamentally what America means, right? Is like, I completely disagree with you. However, I agree. I will fight till the death your ability to say that thing. Now, it could be the most inflammatory thing in the world. Now, apparently, the world has changed a little bit. We don't necessarily believe that anymore, but that's how good old times used to be, right? So, at the absolute bare bones, I'm not saying I support you. In fact, I am saying I am vehemently against what you believe. I believe the exact opposite. With that said, I respect the ability for you to say whatever it is you're going to say more than the content of what you're saying.
It's your country.
Right. Yeah.
What want me to do it? So, it's not my country. You got it.
And don't be there. And we're in your house, right? So I'm going to take my shoes off. So
yeah. Anyway, so
by the way, taking your shoes off generally is ridiculous, and I have the most grotesque feet probably on at least in like Western civilization. So if I ever go to your home, thank you for inviting me. I'm keeping my fucking shoes on because it's better for everybody that way. I'm just letting you know. Okay.
Anyway, but Germany lose to Japan. Japan always a decent side. I didn't really recognize any of the players, but I don't think Germany should feel like they are hard done. They really battered Japan. They get the goal early. Gundogan finishes on a penalty, but I think the fears that German fans would have had were realized. They don't have a finisher, a natural finisher on the squad. We did say keep an eye on Musala. Can't remember his name.
Musala.
He was great.
He was
creating
really
things, moving through the young player. But you talked about Havertz. Where was he? What was he doing? The answer is always nothing, and Chelsea fans will tell you that. So they still have this problem. I wonder if they start shifting and maybe go, you know what, Thomas Muller, do you have one more time as a 9 up front? Because we're going to go home. Because we go on to Spain, who defeated a pathetic Costa Rica, to be fair. I mean, that's the same team.
It's the same
2014.
It's the
same. Exactly the same. They didn't put a shot on target. They didn't take a shot.
In 2014, the Ticos were like the really fun, energetic puppy at the party where you're like, oh my God, I just want to play with this. Like, oh my God, let me rub his belly, right? And now the dog is really old and it's time. Okay.
Like when Brian Ruiz had to come on, Brian Ruiz, who played with Clint Dempsey at Fulham. This is a long time ago. Brian Ruiz comes on and he starts showering passes to Joel Campbell, who was an up-and-coming player at Arsenal 12 years ago. I mean, it's sad.
And poor Keeler
It's
Navas just sitting
I
there
know.
getting absolutely lit up.
By the way, the goals were really good. I do have to say that the Spain goals were fantastic. Like the finishes were all really good. Ferran Torres with like a hat trick. I mean, who is this person that played for City that we got rid of? But the Gavi goal is the one that really just I threw myself on the ground. Volley, side foot, top bins, like some good goals. I was like, yowza.
Yeah.
But they really killed Costa Rica. And I think the fear now is they have to play Germany, and Germany will become something bigger. If Derek Ray says a person's name another way, I'm gonna kill him. Rudiger. I'm like, it's Rudiger. Just do it.
Just say,
okay?
Dude. It's so embarrassing. Like, he did it like.
Anyway,
he's just.
I mean, I'm sure it's nice for the guys' families, but it's a little bit.
They're not watching this feed anyway. They're watching the Costa Rican feed, which, by the way, I said it in our WhatsApp group. Peacock has the games in Spanish, and I feel like we haven't mentioned that, and that's a huge miscalculation. So not tomorrow, but starting probably Sunday, because I'm going to be watching football on Saturday. We are going to be. We're going to be watching games in Spanish, especially Spain, Germany. Oh, boy.
So in that same group, on that same day, my friends from Canada, who I lauded to the heavens, and how I poo-pooed Belgium, who I said wouldn't make it out of the group.
Right. Almost.
They really... Can I talk about you lose 1-0, but you literally kicked the shit out of Belgium. And I mean, they beat them like a rented goalie so badly. I mean, it was unreal. Alderweireld and Vertonghen are fucking cooked.
Toast. And yet
they won on a fluke ball over top because
and yet, trust me, I know those passes from Toby better than anybody.
Really good.
I miss it very much. But they move like aircraft carriers back there. It's tough. It's tough to watch.
And De Bruyne, had his moments where he'd pick up the ball deep and have to run through the whole midfield because Canada was really pressing and really interesting. What's interesting about this is listening to the podcasts of the European guys who are just like, Canada? Huh, that team's really good.
Yeah.
But they really pressed. They had a lot of energy. Alphonso Davies missed a penalty. There was another penalty shout that apparently was not a penalty. It was offside. It was onside. Upon deeper reviews that weren't on during the game, Vertonghen got the ball. So it was less controversy, the better. But unreal performance from Canada. And I think that they have to be, first of all, they have to feel terrible they didn't get a draw. At least something. I think they took 25 shots. I mean, that's an absurd number against Belgium. Tielemans got yanked because he had to put a more defensive midfielder in because they were just running through them. Tielemans has these moments where you're like, "Where are you, dude?
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
Yeah, I remember
a little too much Witzel.
But you remember early. The best way to sum up Tielemans is that like he is Leicester City. It's like they'll throw up a clunker against Bournemouth and they'll lose 3-0. You're like, what the fuck just happened to Leicester City? That's actually it's very indicative of Tielemans as well.
But yeah, I mean, it's Junior Hoylett plays in the championship. Alphonso Davies, these guys just played great. They just couldn't seem to get their shots off. And then Thibaut Courtois, I sort of forgot. I don't know why I forgot that he's there. I was like, oh, Thibaut Courtois is there. No wonder. He's fucking incredible. So he kicked the shit out of City. He won them the Champions League along with Benzema's goals. I mean, Thibaut Courtois is legitimately, when he complained about never getting even a vote for the Ballon d'Or, he's like, I'm here, bitch. Give me that shit. I want it.
It was interesting to see the quality of Canada,
the collective,
and the collective quality of Canada. And shout out to the management and the ethos of that team. Yeah, coupled with the finishing of Canada, because it was
It was a Danny Welbeck performance as a group.
It was half woman, half horse, right? It was, oh my God, this is beautiful. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it was in fact, it was kind of to Manny. I'll talk to Manny right now, our friend, Liverpool supporter and hater of everything that we do in the Facebook group. It was very much a Liverpool performance in that the midfield wasn't creative, but the creativity came from the press, right? They didn't need to create anything. They just got the ball off you high up and just threw it to the next guy. So it wasn't like they were lock picking, remember his name, but they were just smashing them in the face, grabbing the ball.
Sure. I was trying to remember his name because and the club he played for, Buchanan from Club Bruges.
He's good.
He had such a horrible game at the end product. Like he could have had 4 goals, but he was everywhere. He was in everybody's face on Belgium. Jonathan David similar.
He had an Embuemo performance.
Oh my God. Yes.
Playing for Cameroon.
Or a Michy Batshuayi performance, who, by the way, ended up winning the game by accident. No, it was a well-taken goal.
That was a really good finish. But they didn't create anything, which was weird. Belgium, and they all had to come out after the game like, we were fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And so Canada, I love them. We will watch you. I hope that they become a team that we can stick with, think about, feel good about, know where they are, and really open our heart to that Canadian team. I don't know why I love them so much, but usually it happens when I hear the interview of the coach. And this is how I fell in love with Graham Potter. I'm now in love with Herdman.
Well, Croatia is no joke in their next. Yeah, so it's a stronger.
But Croatia's coming off a draw against Morocco.
Right.
If they play like that again, I mean, Canada's going to beat them.
I would say yes, and what the argument is they could possibly be that bad finishing again, right? But I don't know that they'll have that many clean looks against Croatia, but we'll see. I don't really know.
I mean, these are the things that are so wonderful about the World Cup. There's more variables than normal, right? Even in a little sort of side rant, right? Even in a normal World Cup, players playing out of positions, players giving their all for their country, groups of players who've been together a long time, a coach who can whip it together. There are different results that make things crazy. But now we're in this other version of it's in November. The players have barely had any time together. What does it mean to have all this time of form, of playing for your country and then switching? We don't know where this is all going to go. I think we have a lot of that randomness that we frankly have no sense of it. I think that someone like Germany could go out. Argentina could go out. It could be very easy for those types of results to happen. I mean, I do want to give Brazil some shrift. They did beat Serbia. I really liked Serbia. We didn't see anything from Mitrovic. They really shut Serbia down.
Zero shots from Mitrovic. What the fuck, dude?
They couldn't get in the ball.
Yeah.
And then, Thiago Silva is a great defender. He has weakness. He's still 38. You have to be able to run at him at pace. That's not what Serbia does. When I watched the Serbia game against Brazil,
I had a lot of questions about
Serbia's
lineup.
They had a lot of power. They're big. They couldn't turn. They couldn't move. And it felt like Brazil had an extra guy in the field because they're so athletic. They're just flying around.
I had a lot of problems with the way that Serbia lined up with
it's super defensive.
Dusan Vlahovic, get him on the field, first of all. Filip Kostic, get him on the field. Those were two.
Yeah, if you're gonna lose 2-0, you might as well lose 5-3.
It bothered me.
Yeah.
There was just so much. When I looked at the lineup, I went, "Oh, Mitrovic is starting. Oh, wow!" I actually thought I got a good value on his shot prop. And I was like, okay, Dusan Tadic, Milinkovic-Savic, okay. And I went, I feel like somebody's missing here. I don't remember. Okay, let me go look at the bench. Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't understand that.
Richarlison with the goal, I mean, just a really nice taking goal late. He worked hard. He feels good. And, Brazil just
feels fine.
Yeah.
Richarlison is on my mind, and he's number 9.
Very nice. But the Brazil feels good. They're in decent shape. I think a lot of if we come out of this first round of games, there are a couple teams that we expected to play well that are slipping. Some did do what they were expected, but I think the key teams right now are the teams that had big results. England, France, Brazil had a good result, not a big result, and Spain. Now, the ones that we're worried about now are Argentina, Croatia to a lesser extent. I like what things we expected that happened that actually were accurate. Canada actually good. Belgium actually bad. They still may have a problem. And then the U.S. sort of their cup comes down tomorrow. It might be 3 and out. It might not. So we have to see where things go with England and Kane and what happens with them. What are your final thoughts on that game as we talk through a bunch of different things and some themes? Do you have any things I have one thing I want to talk about that's kind of weird, but any final thoughts on that one?
Does Sterling play again over Foden, do you think?
I think that
he loves him.
Southgate is a creature of habit, a creature of security, a creature of the same players. If he was going to change anything, he would have already had Ben White playing with John Stones, which is what they should play.
Yeah, you're right.
My thing that I think about is, what does all this fucking extra time mean? Is it like all the games, they have a new mandate, all the games are getting at least 5 minutes extra, sometimes 8, sometimes 9. The VAR and the refereeing stuff is weird. Things are odd, but that's every week in the Premier League anyway. But
no, I want to explore that for a second.
The added time thing is bizarre.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's the way it should have always been done.
In the Spain-Costa Rica game, there were 9 minutes of added time.
Okay.
Why?
But hold on. Okay. Because this is score irrelevant. This is very frankly saying there was X amount of minutes of not gameplay or the ball not in play, right? And I guarantee you, but this is not that hard. We should have been doing this 75 years ago in the Premier League or in England. Somebody with a fucking stopwatch sitting there going, ball's out of play, ball's back in play. That was 4 seconds or whatever, right? Like, and at the end of the half, you go, yeah, that tallies up to about 6 minutes. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. If you had to have that, but you have precision on VAR. I always thought this was the dumbest thing. And you go, 3. What? What?
I understand what you're saying. So
it's so fucking nonsensical.
This illusion that we keep talking about with precision versus accuracy and technology, put it on the clock.
Yeah, sure.
But not stoppages. Nobody wants it to be commercial time.
Nobody's saying it's stoppages, but have that so that it's not a shock at 45 and 90 where you go, what do you mean there's 9 minutes? What do you mean there's 14 minutes? And by the way, that was because of a very serious injury that has skewed some of the conversation here.
But every game has been that way. It's been bizarre.
But every game has been 5+ minutes. And by the way, first and foremost, 2 things. A, who among us is bitching about more gameplay, right?
Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no,
how many times
why is there 9 minutes? We haven't taken a shot in 3 hours.
How many times has there been a 1-goal game? Germany, for instance, right? They had 7-8 minutes.
They wanted it all the time.
Yeah, but to the neutral, the U.S. Wales game to the neutral is that much more captivating for that much longer. It just is. Yeah. And so,
if you're going to have 5 subs, you might as well make the game longer anyway.
It's a differentiation from the norm that everybody has come to understand and expect, and they don't like it. It's the way it should have always been done. Start, stop, period, end of sentence. Like that is functionally how the rule realistically should be is sort of written, right? Like this is the time to make up for time that was wasted earlier in the half. And additionally, it penalizes minimum. Yeah. It penalizes for time wasting, for diving, for any of this shit.
Oh my God! If this gets to La Liga, Diego Simeone is going to have a regular game with no injury. That's 120 minutes long.
Yeah, no, I know, but I don't know. That's not going to be like. There's no direct line between those two things, right? Because you're saying I'm solving 4 problems with one thing. Not really, right? But I support it for the reasons I said. It's more game.
I find change to be difficult.
I agree most of the time.
I don't like female announcers.
If you're giving me on average 11 more minutes of gameplay to enjoy, and that's one more full beer that I get to have over the 90 minutes, right? So I'm enjoying myself with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's sensical. So I don't have much of an issue.
Mike, final result for the U.S. men versus England.
USA wins 1-1. We're gonna do it again.
I'm gonna go this one 2-1 to England on a late goal by Phil Foden.
Oh God! If you said Harry Kane, I would have started to really get upset. I couldn't.
No. Phil Foden.
I just
Phil
felt my
Foden.
heart go.
Actually, you know what? I bet I changed my mind. Jack Grealish is gonna win this game for England.
Man, what a dick! I feel all of the pain of all of the big game Tottenham losses, where he has been blamed for them. I'm going to feel the inverse of that. I can see a Kane goal tomorrow, especially he was such a great facilitator in that game against Iran.
The U.S. will commit a penalty. Shot. Raheem Sterling's going to draw a penalty.
Yeah.
Like he's just going to go past Tim Ream or Zimmerman or somebody, and they're just
I can see that. I can see that. Anyway. Hey, look, if we keep them off the board from open play, if we do that, then we're going to the knockout round, like 100% guaranteed. I'm not worried about that. If we. I said that out loud. We could give up 2 penalties now that I think about that. But
and then what do we want? What do we want from Wales, Iran? Another draw?
Ideally, a draw or a 1-goal win for Wales, because I don't think Iran gets all 3 points. Right?
Okay.
I don't think there's any way for that.
Mike, take me home, please.
Hey, let's get out of here. Come on, USA.
Yes, that was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network. We have amazing news coming soon. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the WhatsApp group. Thank you for making the games more enjoyable, and we'll see you on the other side.